Cafe where you're not allowed to bring in a cup of coffee.
Yes. Begrudgingly. Can I ask, because usually our like rural cafe followers can tag along on the Zoom, am I allowed to put this Zoom information on our Facebook page or no?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Because I thought we hadn't had one made in advance, but it popped up. We got 1 minute, don't worry. What am I doing wrong? Switch. Why you nervous?
No, it's everything's in Australia. It does. Okay. Can we have any sessions? I don't really.
It's because of all the conflicting sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like Roger wanted to come, but he's got another session at the same time.
Yeah.
And then of course there's a tough regional meeting.
I know someone else would go to that. So
Yeah.
it's like,
So fear not.
see if those guys will sit in there.
Otherwise your inner circle will be the panel.
We'll have a roving one. I'm going to see if these guys will sit. Is there one there already? You got my bed.
I think it's built in.
So there's one built in. One can have one roving and one.
Don't give it to us.
So does that.
I think we do. Yeah, I think you do need to run around. You keep it online. Under the front bar, and there we can all
Yes.
talk more easily. We can make it nice.
Pretty sure I'm not supposed to post the Zoom link, but I've done it.
To real safe. Oh, but I did make it up.
guys want to come in closer, or are you happy there? It's very discussion based, this session, so how are you?
Yes, because you're completely out of the camera. So you would actually need to stand like in the middle of the circle, if you don't mind. Still out of camera. Keep going. I know, but you gotta. Yep. Now you're in. No, you're alright. We're all set. Well, we've. Yes. Google Meet. No, Zoom is what popped up. I don't know. Which email did they
Two
send it
people
to?
still. Gosh, it's very loud. We've got to have the mic for the online people. So if you want to come in closer, please do. I think we'll begin in a few moments for the online crew. So thank you for coming to our Rural Cafe. Originally this session was going to be a panel Q&A with a mix of our Snow and Rural Seeds students discussing mentoring. But because of the sort of intimacy of the group and the diversity, we thought we would make it a little bit more interactive. And I'll pose some questions, throw to a few of you, and we'll see where the discussion goes from there, if that suits everyone. So come in nice and close. We'll make this a very safe place and interactive. So if you have any ideas, what happens in the room stays in the room, and yeah, look forward to the discussion. As I said, my name is Pippa Kensett. I'm an Australian. I'm involved in Rural Seeds through a combination of things, mainly the conference in Limerick in Ireland. My mum is Irish, so I was there visiting family, and by chance I was working with the Rural Doctors Network at the time, and managed to go along, and through that met my Rural Seeds colleagues and somehow joined the family. So it's very nice to be here. I'm a medical student myself, come from a rural background, and yeah, thought we'd get going from there. So today's discussion is all on mentoring and the role of mentoring for everyone, not just students and juniors, but how and why this is such a big thing in healthcare, and in particular sustainability around rural healthcare. So I'll give a bit of a spiel, and then I think if everybody's comfortable, I might just start the conversation. Amber was originally on our panel, so I might sort of throw to some of our SEEDS members and then see how we go from there. So, as you know, great leaders for generations have formally and informally turned to mentors, whether that be for guidance, advice, insights, you name it. It's probably one of the strongest indicators of sustainable success over time. And in my student capacity, I've worked quite a lot in the mentoring space and working out how and why linking to mentors and networks has been one of the sort of common goals across time in keeping people in the right space and helping them to sort of land where their goals aspire them to be. So just a question to the room. How have mentors assisted you in your journey? Does anyone want to share a bit about if they have a mentor, how they came across it, and how a mentor has assisted? We do have a roaming mic. Sorry, I didn't see you. Looking the wrong way.
And please say your name and where you're from, please.
Yeah, just tell us your name and where you're from for those online.
Hello, I'm Ricardo Caravantes from Guatemala, and I have a mentor. She is a bigger doctor than me, of age, and well, it has been a big impact for me because I'm currently taking the boards to certify myself to apply to the United States residency, and she's been a really good guide for me. I mean, she like, okay, Ricardo, you need to do this. I'll help you with this. If you don't understand, please help me. So, well, it's been a pretty good guidance with me, and she also has showed me how to publish and do papers. So I think it's been pretty great. I am here because of her.
Ah, that's great.
She
And
showed
how
me
did you meet?
She was my teacher at university.
Okay, and it was a sort of an informal exchange, or was it formally sort of linked in?
No, it was informal. I mean, I asked questions in classes, and one day I came up to her, and she was really open, and she was like, "Okay, take my number, I'll help you, whatever question you have," and we start building a relationship.
Yeah, great. I think a lot of the literature at the moment is showing that the most effective mentors and mentoring relationships are organically formed, and it's in those informal relationships that they're more likely to work. But we do have, especially speaking from the Australian context, formalised mentoring programs that can link like-minded people, but I think the data is showing that it's not quite as effective. So interesting, I think that links to your story quite well. Does anyone else have a few points? Yep. Yeah, I'll pass you mine. Just say who you are and where you're from.
Thank you so much. My name is Frank Kayumba from Uganda. I'm a medical student and I'm here because of my mentor. So I joined medical school 2021 and I met some people who were doing research. I felt late to do it and I attended the training sessions. The gap for me was there was no actual work to work on. So we have this student body or the club for research and we could write projects, source for funding, and it never comes through because we actually don't have the track record to attain funding. So that was the chaos we were in until in my third year when a colleague invited me into the room. One of our professors in the School of Public Health had gotten a project, and part of it had to include students. So when they were looking around for students who have been actively participating in research things, they called me upon. And when I reached there, I almost outperformed everyone, I think because of the background of trying and failing. So it was a little easier to learn. He took me through the skills, and it was just like a network. So that the training session was 4 months, and then after that they took me to the group where there are other research mentees, and these are people who are advanced in their careers, they're doing their PhDs, they're doing their master's programs, and now they get to invite me to help them with their data if they want it analyzed. However, I would say that the most important thing I learned from joining this group was the work ethic. I don't know, but for me, I didn't actually know what it takes to do research. So getting in touch with these people and seeing how hard they work, the hours they put in, that's when I understood that this is the kind of mindset I need to have. So actually my colleagues right now call me a very busy person because I can just go to my room and stay there 6 hours and I'm writing. You come out with a write-up of 2 pages. Did it take you 6 hours really? And I'm like, yeah. So it was the part of the work ethic that I learned most from that group. Thank you.
Yeah, great. I think when we were speaking, I was having a conversation earlier today with Dr. Sarah Strasser, and we were saying that mentors are different things at different times, and at different times of your life, but also within your career, whether that's research, like you're saying, or at stages. And it sounds like you found a group that at that time was just perfect. In saying that, maybe we'll hear from some of our more experienced members of the audience. How have mentors helped you later in your career, rather than just in our student phase where a lot of us are, and we're sort of working out what to do, how to do it, when to do it? How has it continued to sort of play a role?
Yeah, Torrance and looked at James Cook University in Australia. Just a couple of things. I love the idea of mentors evolving organically. If you mentor them, you can sit in a room, look at each other, wonder what you're going to talk about. Because when there's a need, is helpful. I quite like the idea of student clubs and bodies being mentored by someone as well. I think that really successful clubs have a mentor, a professional in that area who kind of knows the territory and knows connections and can help them still to run the club, but having that mentor. Back to this question about mentors later in your career, I think sometimes as the seasons of your life change, you might change direction and you might want to run it by someone, you know, when this is reasonable, but maybe it's time to change the status quo. And the really helpful mentor is the one who knows you well enough, who can say, pull your head in, which is an Australian way of saying you're on the wrong track, you're doing the wrong thing, and the person who can just that judgment and said, you know, I think you've miscalled that, I think you haven't done that the right way, I think you didn't say the right thing, and can do that in a way that doesn't cause offence, but just makes you think about it. And that's so useful, because we're all human, we're all prone to errors of judgment, and someone who can say, you know, just reconsider that. And that might be a thing that you seek. You might be uncomfortable about something, but actually it might be something someone just notices and says that. And giving to people that we trust around us permission to do that, I think is very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyone have any points on that one? I think there was quite a lot in that. Anything they'd like to add? And if there's any questions online as well, just let us know. Did you have a... Oh, wow. Do you want to read out a couple?
It's just one. So this question is from Dr. Tariq Jaglarine, who's a family physician in Guyana in the Caribbean. So he asked if you can share any ideas of rural work that you've done that's sustainable and also meets our, SMART goal, and also if there's any specific research areas that people have done.
I'm going to quote Marlon here and say I have the questions but not the answers to that one. So anyone have any particular responses to that question? Great.
No?
Yeah, you can. Good. Paul Worley from Australia. The area of mentorship often gets discussed in terms of supervision. Supervision in medicine means someone telling you off when you did the wrong thing, or signing your timesheet and giving you the protocol that you have to follow. In many other disciplines, it incorporates mentorship very much more and is around, are you in a safe space to provide the best care for your patients, clients, and to look after yourself. So what is the impact of your work on you, and therefore are you in a really good place to be able to provide the best care? And there is a vast literature on supervision, which includes mentorship and includes a lot of very academic studies that medicine ignores, essentially, and rural medicine is included in that. The areas that look at it probably best are the areas of psychology, counselling, social work, all of those areas that are dealing with patients and clients where your own vulnerability and your own responses can be very profound when you are dealing with the issues, and therefore the need for that supervision and that mentorship is equally profound. So if you're looking for mentorship and supervision literature studies, don't look for the word medicine because there will not be a lot. But if you look for those other disciplines, there's an enormous literature that we could learn from.
Yeah, fantastic. I recently was involved in a leadership conference in Sydney, in Australia, and some of the reading around it was you have to be very careful always having a mentor from either within your team or organisation. And I think that pertains to the medical context of you can't completely be vulnerable or safe to access the needs and the different needs of sometimes a mentor can provide.
Whereas in those other disciplines, they will often explicitly say that your supervision and mentoring needs to be provided outside your organisation, so that it is a safe place that you can be vulnerable without threatening your promotion or threatening your rosters, all of those sort of things. So having that person outside your organisation is very helpful.
Yeah, and back to that idea that you can have many for different things at different times. So yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Ala, and I'm from Snow, the outgoing president, obviously. So I'm going to share a quick story about mentorship. Once upon a time, I was very interested to find a mentor, and then I realized there was a mentorship program. It's a part of TUF. It's a kind of program that connects you with a mentor, and you have to sign up and apply. You choose your area of interest. Yeah, and then you get to connect with this person, and somehow you sign like an MOU or like a mini contract that will be continuing this project. And I met a very amazing mentor. I feel always proud to say her name. Maybe some of you know her. Her name is Eleanor Holroyd. She's from the New Zealand, and we grew into knowing each other very much, and she's very supportive. And then I liked the idea of the mentorship program so much, and the next year I applied to be a mentorship program coordinator because I just realized some deficiencies within the program. So the message that I just want to deliver, it's not very hard to find a mentor, but it's hard to decide the outcomes of this mentorship. And what are you going to benefit from this particular person, and what this particular person is going to provide to you.
Absolutely, I think that links into the mix of organised and so like the formally arranged and the informal organic relationships that form, and it sounds like that you had that experience of an organic relationship through a formal program. Does anyone have any more thoughts on how that looks?
My name is Sophie Conradi. I'm a family physician, retired, and at the end of my formal career, I did a coaching course, a coaching qualification, and now involved in coaching and mentoring, also through the South African Academy of Family Practice, helping through a group of more senior family physicians, mentoring newly qualified family physicians, and also involved with undergraduate medical students. And I just want to add to what Paul has said. I think that that's, as you've said, different kinds of coaching, and often there's the kind of coaching or mentoring around your career. But I think what's very important is the coaching, mentoring around your personal growth and your personal development. And that, I think, is creating a space, a safe space, where the mentee can just talk about their struggles in work or life. And I think that's another aspect that I think is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you think that we, necessarily seek out that particular person?
So that's the challenge. I think there is definitely a challenge, because in the academy we have a panel of mentors, and we ask we invite people to sign up as a mentee, and then they have some choice in who they choose. I think that's important. And other places it's a bit more difficult to match students with we just use doctors, qualified doctors as mentors to medical students, and it's a bit more challenging there to find the right. So this is online, so it's not organic.
Great. We've just got a question behind you. Well, we're passing the mic. I think that's really interesting, because you think about also different types of people and cultures, and how sometimes you're more enabled to access those mentors because you're already perhaps a bit more outgoing or extroverted, and then it's really hard. And I'll just plant the seed that, thinking about how you actually do seek out those people. Well, we have our next question.
Sort of also the interplay between coaching and mentoring. So I think a simple way of looking at it is the coach hasn't got any expertise in the coachee or the client's field, while in mentoring it's different. It's often the way, and that's what I think my role is a hybrid between the two, because I often coach doctors and medical students where I understand their context.
So I'm Leslie, I'm here from Vancouver, Canada, and in association with our university, we have a coaching and mentoring program for practicing physicians. And so it's accredited, the mentors are supported for their time, and people sign up as mentors and mentees, and then it's a bit of that speed dating, so everyone has profiles. And when we first started, we expected there to be a lot more of a focus on the clinical piece. And what the outcomes were was not that at all. It became much more of an organic, like a lot of new to practice physicians or new to the country physicians, and who found a mentor, and the outcomes were about confidence of settling into community. And sometimes it's about like, where can my kids go to school, and is there a bank here? And it's acclimatizing to a new community they hadn't been in before. And the mentor didn't have to be in the community with them, but were in the rural system in the province. And sometimes people came as a pair. So they came to the program to say, we already have this, we found each other, we have this pair, we're gonna kind of enter the formal program, and there was some support for their time. But other times it was like, I'm looking for a mentor or a coach, and they can kind of pick from the slew of options. But it was interesting because what we expected to be the outcomes were not at all, and actually this was much more impactful because they could get some really specific clinical coaching depending on what they were looking for. But we were able to link retention to community to it, all of these things as folks settled in. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And I think the focusing on the other aspects, I once referred to them as the soft skills, and was told off because they're not soft skills, they're very important, hard, the required skills of rural. And yeah, I think you're right that doing it well actually will lead to stronger retention. So if you say, oh, I'm doing this support, mentoring, networking, whatever you want to call it, it's actually adding to the bigger picture and piece of the puzzle where it's retaining people because you're immersing them in community, you're making sure they're feeling connected and they're getting all those aspects of their life, which are far more frightening than being within the walls of a clinical environment, which they already know. So yeah, that's really interesting. And it's interesting that it was a formalised program with which naturally went into that, less clinical picture as well. So there's a question up behind you.
Thank you. My name is Harini. I'm from Canada at the University of Saskatchewan, and I'm originally from India. I just wanted to add to Leslie's point that I did my PhD thesis as a case study of a socially accountable institution in India, and I had participants from ages 24 to 87 who told me how their institution fostered that commitment to how they can go back and continue working with community, and mentorship was such an important piece that came up. The institution was recruiting students from rural and remote areas around them, and the students would go in and get paired up with faculty who lived on campuses, and that mentorship piece really they saw faculty living the life that they were being taught to live, and so they saw them embody all the values that they were supposed to, and they also got the community support they needed. Like you said, they got settled into the area and they still maintain those connections like decades after they've graduated. So I think relationships are really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to sort of sidetrack the conversation, but from the Australian perspective, a lot of the conversation from not just medical students, but all of sort of health students in particular, those keen on rural, it is on the networking, mentoring, and exactly linking to that. And they've actually said that they think that is more important than monetary support alone. So, everyone thinks, the solution is going to be pay them more. Probably would be helpful, but it's certainly, it's not on its own. So, yeah, really, really good point.
I'm Kashina from South Africa. So following on that point, there seems to be a lot of overlap between role modeling and mentoring. So people identify mentors that embody the qualities or properties that they want to have or they want to achieve. But successful mentorship usually relies on relatability. If the mentor and the mentee have something in common, or they're passionate about something, or they have some similar ideas.
A few yeses along the front row there, Dylan.
Yeah, I think that's really important. It's about context, and I think particularly if we're going to succeed in rural, we need more rural mentors that understand context. I think I was just thinking through, I've had mentors, I've had academic, research, life, clinical, political, leadership mentors, and they're all different, and they've all been at different stages. I think there's an assumption that your mentor must be senior to you. That's not true either. I think I've had plenty of mentors that have taught me plenty of things, and Anne and I always get our kids to teach us lots of things about technology along the way. So there's all sorts of mentorship that can be quite technical, or it can be very social. I think we should just celebrate the whole variety of it. There should be serendipitous organic mentorship, and then some opportunities that people could say, well, yeah, if you've got a research topic, there's this. I think some of my best mentors have been my colleagues, and I think that brings up the whole clinical courage argument that, you know, if we're going, we need a safe space in clinical. And I think that's where we do differ a little bit, with due respect to what you said before, that in medicine we do need a safe space to be able to talk over the cases and the things that we've done. And that's that clinical courage bit of mentorship, where it's at a very even level quite often, where we're saying, well, yes, this is the situation, and we can openly discuss how we can improve our practice. So there's so many dimensions to it. But I think the commonality always is that you have to feel comfortable. There has to be a safe space in which you can do it, and then let many flowers bloom, as long as they're making the most of that rural context and helping you in that context.
Any other points on the back of that?
Without adding to the too many Australians talking, I was just thinking, well, that's true, I am a Kiwi. I have an Australian accent, and I work in Australia. I was just going to make 2 points. So the first one is, and goes along with what Bruce said, about relationships and things are so important. And actually, several of my mentors found me, and I ended up, I think, doing things because my mentors, exactly, yeah. Well, and they have been, and when that happens, then they can, guide you through what it is that they want you to do. The other thing about they don't have to be older than you, so I accidentally picked up somebody who counted me as their mentor and used to ring me regularly, and that requirement came to an end. But then I had a problem, and he was the first person that popped into my head, and we already had this relationship. So we flipped it, and he became my mentor for, again, we said things happen organically, and so your life changes, your job changes, your the things you need to be supported for change, and it can be anyone.
Any other points from non-Aussies?
Over here.
Oh yes, good. Before you coming over, I was going to say that I was once told, because I'm big into mentors, obviously, and I said, oh, look, I wasn't taught anything. I just watched, and I was like, I will take the good bits from you and become that. And so I think so much is observational and being a sponge, but it's on that common relationship, like most things, relational. So, hand over to you.
Just one quick comment. So, one of the things that I love about mentoring and being mentored, sometimes it happens without you even realizing that that's what's happening. Like, for example, asking one of your younger members of Rural Seeds to host a rural cafe so you don't have to do it. But also picking up things, as Pippa said. And then you do find that you get roped into things and you gradually build that confidence, and then slowly the support kind of, becomes a little bit less and less. But you then get to the stage where you're passing that on to someone else. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful things about mentoring in rural. The other thing is that I often tell people that, you know, medical school is very good at preparing you for all the challenges you'll face in the workplace, but they don't prepare you for any of the real life stuff that happens. Like when I did my first emergency department rotation, I was learning to drive at the same time. An 8.5 square mile island does not have traffic. So, you know, my first time coming up to a roundabout was terrifying, even though, you know, it's 20 miles an hour. But trying to balance learning how to drive with being an emergency doctor for the first time, I found learning to drive was scarier. And it was only when one of the emergency doctors said, look, you're gonna pass your driving test, you're still gonna be crap at driving, just get a small car so you can find parking and you'll be fine. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, half of it is belief in yourself, really. Any other comments on the back of that? Okay. Look, I did lose the other roving mic for a moment there. I don't know if it's the brain fog from jet lag or just relatively vague.
I'm not Australian. My name's Jenny. I'm from South Africa. I think in this group, in a sense, we're preaching to the converted. We all understand mentoring, are part of it, believe in it. I think the difficulty that I find when we have medical students and junior doctors and interns coming through our facilities is you can sometimes see the value of person being mentored, but sometimes only a crisis happens in order for them to understand that. And I'm wondering, how do we encourage, we've had different words, but how do we encourage a coaching ethos? So everyone expects to have this part of their journey. So understanding that as a student, as a medical student, when you go out to a rural facility, that's expected, and that's just going to be part of the story, and whether it's to ask someone where the bank is or whether to ask someone how to put a chest drain in. And then as you become an intern, we have community service here, and that's, I think, where I find the biggest need, the community service doctors who putting on this brave face. It's a conscripted 1 year for healthcare workers in South Africa, and there is a choice, you put forward some choices, but invariably I find that many of the people who come to my facilities are not first choices. And so they're trying to be brave and put on this brave front, but in actual fact they're desperately disappointed that they didn't get Cape Town. And now they're trying to go through all their personal issues, and their child is not staying with them because it's too far away, and the child is school in Cape Town. And then, you know, all the wobbles happen through the year, especially around mental health issues. And I just wonder, how do we change that culture? It seems to me that doctors feel that they've got to be these strong people, that you don't show any emotion, you don't ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. And I think sometimes our mentors come across a little bit heavy-handed as well. They kind of come down, you know, sort of, I don't know if they've always been the right examples to people.
Just picking up on the topic of health, mental health and so on, and Paul mentioned a very, very important word, which is vulnerability. We're all vulnerable, and when we talked about, as rural generalist trainees, back in Australia, about well-being and about self-care and that sort of stuff, they said, we're sick of people coming to tell us about wellness and resilience and all this sort of stuff. One of the Australian Medical Student Association president one year said, sick of hearing about resilience. The iceberg did not care how resilient the captain of the Titanic was. Okay, because there is a system out there, that's the problem. And they also said, we don't want to hear from these people who are perfect, who have wonderful careers. We want to hear from people who are like us. And we looked at Brené Brown's work on this, many of you will know, and we hit on this concept of vulnerability. And so we're running a series now. We have every workshop, there's a session on vulnerability. The sort of senior doctors have made a video, you know, 3 to 5 minute video. Tell me about a time you're vulnerable. And those stories will bring you to tears. They're so powerful, we couldn't put them on a public page. Then we get the registrars or the trainees to share with each other times when they were vulnerable. We have to make sure this is safe, confidential, all those things. But it's been incredibly powerful because they realise that each and every one of us is vulnerable at some stage in our lives. That's why we all need mentors. And that vulnerability, or the challenge of managing vulnerability, is not very far away from taking care of yourself, your own mental health. So we should normalise the idea that we're all human, as in fact that's what we call the session. We're all human, and that we're all vulnerable, and therefore we need someone to help us at times when we may or may not realise we need that help.
Two things from that. Firstly, like you were saying, is it's usually when the wheels fall off and you have a crisis that you suddenly think, who are my mentors? And I think of it, like Tara was saying, as a toolbox, like knowing what to get when you need it, but actually seeing things in place, like up in Queensland is pretty amazing to hear, because you often don't need your mentor, but it's knowing how to access them, how to collate them in your back pocket until you do. So yeah, any other comments on that? Yeah, great.
Yeah, I would like to comment about the issue of getting medical students and junior doctors. Being a student, I would just say that as humans, we tend to frame each other for the stage at which we meet. So probably if you find someone in a bar, every time they call up to you, they are talking about something similar. And that frames a little bit of a relationship discrepancy between students or juniors and their seniors because of the authority gap. And it is after overcoming that then you can get the students to be mentored. For my university, they've tried to come up with that kind of mentorship where they assign students to lecturers. I've been there 4 years and it hasn't worked out because they take you to someone who is teaching you biochemistry and you just don't feel comfortable. You know, this guy knows I'm a student in biochem, probably is not interested. So what I would advise for now is that if you could get the students, just invite them in the room and give them exposure on what you're doing, that they could pick interest, and that kind of bringing in another conversation could bring them on board. And you do that for the first time, which may be hard, but if you recruit some, then they'll be able to recruit the juniors through the peer-to-peer mentorship, in that there is kind of a system. First years could connect to second years, and it kind of alleviates that fear. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it lives in a lot there with networking and especially the exposure stuff early in university training. So what you're talking about, we do a lot in Australia with our rural health clubs, and it's creating a space that they can feel safe to have like-minded conversations that will then link to hopefully accessing someone that they feel comfortable with and can build, a mentoring relationship with. And even looking around this room, I could say I have a number of mentors here, but it's because of those safe experiences through your early university sort of years. So thank you. Does anyone else have any points? Marlon, I was actually going to ask you from a psychology background. It's all right if you don't, but if you had any thoughts on the idea of coaching, mentoring, and thinking around it.
Thank you. Yeah, I really want to pick up what Paul Morley was saying about psychology, because our tradition is quite different. Like, we do supervision. I have a supervisor. I have supervision every week. I met with her for 15 years and I'm never stopping. And that's the way we do it. It's like how we are safe on not projecting ourselves to the patients. It's like about patient safety, but I think it's more than just having clinical advice. But it's not psychotherapy either. It's something else. And then I have another mentor in my own town that I call for research questions. Like, he's the huge research professor in town, but that's something very different. So I think that mentorship has to be structured. It's not only like calling for advice, that's like more like mutual friendship. I think it's also, someone else also, why is it hard to get students to be mentored? That's because there's no frame, and maybe they are told they are weak if they need a mentor. So if you have a culture or a system that encourage to do that, I think that's very effective, and that's how we do it. Every psychologist who starts work at our clinic, they are obligated to have supervision at least 1 hour every week. So that's how we do it. So, and I actually have a book recommendation for you. So there is a book, if any of you are interested, it's called Psychoanalytic Supervision. It's from Nancy McWilliams. It's an international bestseller. And she writes about how to encourage growth in your mentee and how you handle when they struggle or when they are not cooperating. I remember I had one mentee who refused to write medical records. So it could be problems too. And this book from Nancy McWilliams, it's like, I'm quite proud of it because she's my long-term supervisor. And one day I told her, you know, Nancy, your next book will be on supervision. You have to write it. And she did. So I'm quite proud of that. I'm actually in the preface.
Oh, cool. Comments online?
You can read them.
Glasses on.
Oh.
All right, so we've had quite a few comments from our viewers online. So from Dr. Gobit in Sri Lanka, he says mentorship is valuable not only in the educational setting, but also in the workplace, which is what a lot of us have talked about. So for instance, recent medical graduates who are assigned to rural areas benefit greatly from mentorship. Some instances may be a distance one. Guidance and support are crucial for the newcomers as they navigate limited resources and gain experience in less exposed environments. And Tiffany Maycock says she agrees. Lack of mentorship hindered her promotion early in her career, and good mentorship is what helped her achieve her promotion. So she tries now to look out for younger physicians to mentor. And then Dr. Jack Narine says that mentorship is very dynamic. It's knowing what you need, when you need, but at the right opportunity. And it requires the need to recognize when it's available and making the most out of it. As we grow, we need to change mentors and become mentors ourselves. And he also mentions there is a huge space for self-mentorship through many means such as coaching, reading, etc.
Oh, question back?
Hi everyone, my name is Pulusho. I am from the Interprofessional Educations Unit here at the University of the Western Cape. I just wanted to concur with, I did not get your name, sorry, but Marlon, yeah, with regards to having the structure of mentorship in the programs that we have at UWC. Yes, we don't have the medical degree, but we have physiotherapy and all the other allied health. So what I found was, as I was doing my undergrad, we did not have anyone as a mentor. And yes, the university does have mentorship programs, but it's not specifically for a person who's doing the same degree that you're doing, but it's just there to support you through some emotional situations you may be going through. And in my undergrad, when I was doing my third year, we found that the juniors were coming after us, were struggling with the physiotherapy degree and all of that. And I got to relate with them because I came from a rural area with no understanding of what I was coming to do at university. And it was more of kind of getting out of poverty to find a better life for myself. But then if there was a person who could be there to help and guide me and tell me about the different kinds of opportunities available for me, that would have helped a lot. So I did suggest that because they found that the students who were coming after us were not performing as well as we did. Then I thought that if we could mentor them, it's going to help them at least achieve as they are expected to achieve in the course that they are doing. And I also was privileged to have some of my seniors offer to be mentors to me. So that helped me a lot because as I was going for my clinical rotations, I would have people to ask, what should I prepare for? What is it that I must be aware of? And that helped me. It boosted my confidence and I was able to pass than I would have if I did not have any one of them. So I think having those mentors in being a structure in each and every one of those courses is something that would be beneficial, especially for people coming from rural areas into big towns such as Cape Town.
Absolutely. Great.
I think I just have one sentence to say. Mentorship is practicing the spirit of Ubuntu.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize what was it.
No, thank you. I just would follow that sentence of Ubuntu. I can thank my mentor from afar, who's in the room with us today. So Ian Cooper hired me 15 years ago as an American outside of the country of South Africa and took a chance. I didn't have a work visa at the time, but said I was in the process of it, and he trusted that. And I hadn't had too much university academic education experience, but I had other kind of life experience and had a degree as a physician associate, which is matching our clinical associate here. So I think, I really appreciate that taking a chance and kind of setting a motion for me. And he was the head of the department under the division I was in, and then provided some nice letters and support of conferences to join and helped with early research. And we never had a mentorship, like specific relationship, but it was kind of like, if we can have such a category, mentor from afar, it sort of come in and out, to kind of be there, I think, kind of help to introduce me to the ways of the university and how things went. And then, almost actually the job almost didn't happen because I was going to be hired by the Department of Health, and then that fell through for funding. But then Ian was able to make the process continue at the university. God, there was one more point, the main point that I wanted to start saying about what he did. There was one more thing. I think that, maybe as seniors, just think about the things that you do that does open up doors for some of those newer people coming in. And maybe it's not officially mentoring, but it can be a kind of a mentor from afar. And I guess the last thing is that, as I gray my hair with his, I can start doing that. And have been trying through my division, staff that I hire, and open up opportunities and provide them. And someone comes up the hallway and says, Scott, you were my lecturer, and what you did for me was really great with that letter that you wrote, and it opened up the door for this. So I think maybe I just want to say that too, is we all have these different ways that we play, mentor from afar. And I just want to thank Ian for that through the years.
Yeah. That's a brilliant last point, but I'm going to hand over to Ella from Snow. But I was just going to say, I'll leave you with a couple of thoughts. As you said, thinking about how you can be a good mentor, because we can do it at all ages and stages, but also how to be a good mentee. So thank you so much for joining. I'll now hand over to Ella to present from Snow.
Thank you for inviting us to be part of this. This is, of course, our first time to be part of Rural Seed and Rural WONCA. So we just thought of a quick intro into Snow and what we're doing. So it stands for Student Network Organization. And, well, it's an autonomous body of TUF. You all know TUF, of course. They're quite famous now. Next slide. So it's a network of health students who work to promote health equity in education, healthcare through intercultural, multidisciplinary approaches. And our goal is universal healthcare construction. And this organization has been established since 1993. It was not born back then, but yeah. So this is some of our photos from 2022 and 2029 in Australia, in Ireland, and last year in Sharjah. Next. Next. Yeah, our mission is to create a space to strengthen our students' interestedness and regardless of their area of expertise, where they're coming from, their backgrounds, their schools or institutions, whatever, they're part of us to help them grow into their leadership skills and to interact more, to get to know each other, to engage, to communicate, to network, and to be a professional in public health initiatives. And we create a platform to strengthen their interest in knowledge and impact. Next. So what do we do? First, we do networking. One of the examples is this conference. Every year we do a conference to network. We do some online regional conferences, virtual, and we do some sessions and webinars to network and to get to know more people. We engage. We always invite students and young professionals to actively engage in our activities and leadership. When you're part of SNO, you're learning how to be a leader, and then you attend some of the sessions and the conferences and stuff, so you know how to be a leader by learning by yourself and by talking to people and by seeking some mentorship from people who have already leadership expertise. Next. And we do international campaigns, local advocacy for healthcare issues, and we do professional development, professional and personal aspects as well. Next. Next. This is just a roadmap for the conference. These are our goals for the next year: is fostering future global leaders, promoting intersectoral approaches and interprofessional education, collaborative care, advocating for access, equity in health, and social justice and community engagement. Next. Well, this was supposed to be the Student Network Organization Executive Committee, but it's changed now because I'm the outgoing president, and Simran Sapal from India is the new president. Vansh down there, he was the office manager, now he is the vice president, and so it's mixed now. We haven't announced that yet, so new for you. And we have international board, we have the research body, we have Camila from Argentina, we have come from India, and we have Shubhan from India as well. Next. Next. Yeah, and we host an exchange program annually. Within TUF conference, every year we do exchange program for 1 or 2 students to come to the country that hosting the conference. For example, this year we selected a winner who has been here in Cape Town for 3 weeks, and she has been exposed to the 4 institutions that are hosting the conference, doing some rural health activities and public health engagement. Next. Yeah, these are also some photos and insights from 2022 exchange program. We hosted Mariam and Daniel from Kenya and Brazil to go to Vancouver, and they did some great job with learning about indigenous health in Northern Territory. Next. Yeah, and you see Bob in the middle, you know him. Next. 2 more slides. And last year in Sharjah, we also hosted a exchange program, and the winner flew from Argentina, stayed 3 to 4 weeks in Sharjah, and she also was exposed to something called LEAF and learning about research and engaging in the culture of the UAE. Next. And some photos. Next. Yeah, and we have something called ISTEP, which is the International Student Training and Exchange Program. It's an online program that's hosted by certain institutions, and we recruit students and young leaders from different universities to be part of that. They conduct lectures, online sessions, research opportunities, and they do assessments, and at the end they get certificates. Next. So one of the things to mention, through the ISTEP, people really get to seek mentors, and a lot of students has been part of the ISTEP program, and their relationship with the person that they were doing the ISTEP with grew into a very close mentorship relationship. And we also have the TUF mentorship program that I was talking about early, and we kind of focus on building a strong network and global community of mentors and mentees, so they're connected together, and they meet like on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, depends on what they prefer, and they're sharing like their knowledge and expertise, and they're doing networking events, they meet online, and they agree on research projects, exchange projects, internship projects, depends on their own preferences. And yeah, I tried to be so brave because I know we're running late. So thank you for Rural WONCA for this opportunity. Thank you for Rural Seeds. Thank you for Amber, for Peppa, and for those who are not here, I think Veronica.
No, Veronica's.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, so we've got 5 minutes before the keynote speech starts. I would also like to point out that the person controlling the slides was not me and is not, in fact, at this conference. They were in another room completely, which boggles the mind. Last thing, thank you all for participating. A good discussion as usual. We will upload the recording of this cafe onto our YouTube channel, which I hope that you do follow. I'm just going to bring up our little slide. So those are the links for Snow's website and for the Rural Family Medicine Cafe YouTube page. Rural Seeds is also doing some fundraising, so we do have some merchandise. We have some t-shirts, some pins, and some pencils. You can find myself or Pippa and purchase it if you would like to contribute to our work with Rural Seeds. But thank you very much, and time to hustle to the next thing.
Oh, of course. There we go.
It's true. And that's the nice thing about rural is everyone is willing to step up and help.
So we're another keynote is the main area. Yeah, it was the culture journey. Very smart. Okay. I was like, I can't actually read it.
All right, I'm going to
And then I get a
relax.
text from
So
my
I'm going to pee.
professor saying, great work, da da da. Don't forget to study. I was like, mate, I'm trying to stay awake.
Bye, Amber. Bye, Amber.
Oh.
Bye,
Amber.
everyone. Sorry. I forgot about you guys. Thank you for
Hey,
joining.
Amber. Bye. See you. Great work, guys. Take care.
How do I end this, Veronica? I'm having brain fog. How do I get this to stop? Veronica, Pippa, help me. How do I get the Zoom to stop? Oh, end.
End Zoom.
Bye,